Chapter 1: The Condition of Man. Before a person can understand why salvation is necessary, he must first understand the condition in which he finds himself. This is where the Bible begins. Rather than telling us what we would like to hear about ourselves, Scripture tells us the truth. Many people believe that human beings are basically good. They acknowledge that people make mistakes from time to time, but they assume that most individuals are decent enough to be accepted by God. The Bible paints a very different picture. As we read through Scripture, we discover that God's assessment of mankind is far more serious than most people imagine. The problem is not simply that some people commit terrible crimes while others live respectable lives. The problem is that sin has affected every member of the human race. The Apostle Paul stated this plainly in Romans 3 verse 23 when he wrote, "For all have sinned, and come short of the glory of God." Notice the word all. It does not leave room for exceptions. Rich and poor, educated and uneducated, religious and irreligious, young and old alike stand under the same verdict. Every person who has ever lived has fallen short of God's perfect standard. The only exception is Jesus Christ himself. To many people, sin is a word reserved for the worst kinds of behavior. They think of murder, theft, violence, or other serious crimes. While these things are certainly sinful, the Bible's definition goes much deeper. Sin includes every thought, word, attitude, and action that falls short of God's holiness. It includes pride when we exalt ourselves above others. It includes selfishness when we place our own desires above what is right. It includes envy, hatred, dishonesty, lust, bitterness, and unbelief. Even sins that remain hidden from the eyes of others are fully known to God. The seriousness of this becomes clearer when we consider who God is. God is not merely better than mankind. He is perfectly holy. He is completely righteous. He is absolutely just. There is no sin in him, no corruption, no wrongdoing, and no imperfection. Everything he does is pure and right. Because God is holy, his standard is holiness. Because God is perfect, his standard is perfection. Many people compare themselves with other people and conclude that they are doing reasonably well. They may say, "I am not as bad as that person," or "I have lived a decent life." But God's standard is not measured against our neighbors. It is measured against his own perfect character. This is why Paul wrote in Romans 3 verse 10, "There is none righteous, no, not one." That statement is both humbling and revealing. The Bible does not divide humanity into the good and the bad. It does not place one group of people in need of salvation while another group is already acceptable to God. Instead, it places every person under the same conclusion. All have sinned. All have fallen short. All stand guilty before a holy God. No one can claim sinless perfection. No one can stand before God and point to a flawless record. No amount of morality, religion, charity, or good intentions can erase that reality. This truth may be difficult to hear, but it is essential to understand. A person will never appreciate the greatness of God's salvation until he first understands the depth of his need. Imagine a man who feels perfectly healthy. He sees no reason to visit a doctor because he believes nothing is wrong. But if a serious disease is discovered, his perspective changes immediately. Only when he understands the problem does he begin to appreciate the cure. The Bible follows the same pattern. Before presenting God's remedy, it first reveals mankind's condition. Before speaking of forgiveness, it reveals guilt. Before speaking of salvation, it reveals the danger from which we need to be saved. Only when we understand the bad news about sin can we fully appreciate the good news of the gospel. And having seen mankind's condition, the next question naturally arises. What is the consequence of sin, and why does it place every person in such desperate need of salvation?